Brothers and sisters, have you ever pondered the apparent power of the CEOs of the world's major companies, or the leaders of the world's various countries? In most cases, these CEOs own very little of the companies they manage. So it is for the world's leaders. Both are entrusted with executive power, the power to legislate, the power to make decisions, the power to collect and spend. Yet their power is not unlimited. The decision-making power generally comes with a corresponding responsibility, proportional to the people affected by their decisions. And when they fail to fulfill their responsibilities, those above them, i.e. the shareholders or citizens, act. When the CEOs fail to do a good job, their shareholders throw them out and replace them with someone more competent. In the place of world leaders, except in the case of dictators who sometimes can only be removed with revolution, they are tossed out at the next election if they fail to run the country for the common good of all citizens. As it is today, so it was 3,000 years ago. In the first reading, God the Father, through the prophet Isaiah, dismisses Shebna to replace him with a more competent and faithful man, Eliakim. While Hezekiah was ultimately the king of Judah, it was the head of the household, or the prime minister in today's lingo, that did much of the day-to-day running of the country. Eliakim, the newly appointed head of the household, was given by God the Father the keys of the house of David, or in another sense, the keys of the kingdom. These keys brought with them designated authority and responsibility in the kingdom. And what was this authority and responsibility? In the Davidic kingdom, the master of the household was firstly God's servant. He was also to be father to God's people. He was given the power to open and close, which was the power to make judgments for the kingdom, on what was or not permitted. And finally, he held ultimate teaching authority on behalf of the king. Brothers and sisters, it was with this tradition in mind that Jesus in today's gospel gave the keys of the kingdom to Peter. However, Peter was not being appointed prime minister of the Roman province of Judea. This earthly kingdom may very well have been the sort that the people who were awaiting the Messiah might have hoped for, but this was not Jesus' intent. Instead, Peter was given authority and responsibility for the kingdom of heaven on earth. In the kingdom of heaven on earth, Jesus is king, and in today's gospel he appoints the head of that both heavenly and earthly household. And when Jesus gave the keys of the kingdom of heaven to Peter, he was empowering him with the responsibilities akin to those given to the head of the household of old, as both servant and vicar of God. This appointment has been handed on through apostolic succession to Peter's modern-day successor, Pope Francis. As such, we should be obedient to the Pope as the one to whom Christ has handed on the keys. We should always keep our hearts and our minds open to the way he combines the Church's doctrinal teaching with the pastoral realities of modern life. We should not fret that the extreme left continually misquote him or take his words out of context in order to fulfill their leftist agenda, or that the extreme right despise him and ultimately reject his authority. At the end of the day, it is Christ, God, that has guaranteed that the gates of Hades will not prevail against the church built on the rock of Peter. For this we thank the Lord for his promise to Peter, his infallible chair, and all the successors of Peter who have sat on it since. So, brothers and sisters, what should we take away from today's readings? Firstly, it was and continues to be God the Father and God the Son who decides who shall be shepherd over the people of God, whether under the old covenant or the new. So it is for the priesthood and the hierarchy of the church today. It is not something from humanity but comes as a calling, an appointment from heaven. It is God's will, not ours. Secondly, it should never be viewed as a position of power that a person wants to obtain. It is a responsibility given and one that can be taken away should the person who received it fail in their duty. Brothers and sisters, please pray for all priests, bishops and Pope Francis who have been called to serve the people of God and govern and teach. Pray that we may always remain faithful to the gospel, the teachings of the church and the most holy will of God.